Well, welcome to Rimshots with Sean right here in Eastlink Community TV. My guest today is a very good friend of mine, Miss Melanie Ross Breen. Good to see you. And a few days ago, Melanie posted something on her Facebook page that we're going to cover here today. The HRA Community Report, the Halifax Regional Arts Community Report. Tell us about this.
So this is an amazing program that happens in Halifax that doesn't happen anywhere else. And I know this because I've been in contact with lots of people in lots of places and at conferences, and they are completely amazed that a municipality has the foresight to spend some of their tax dollars to enhance fun arts experiences for students. And it's hooked in with HRCE, so we serve over 57,000 students in 137 schools with just shy of 100 teachers. We do music, visual arts, dance, and drama experiences for students. And we do an amazing job of reaching all of those people. And I'm very proud of it, which is why I posted this community report, because I don't think most people know that your tax dollars go towards creating our community of musicians and artists.
Well, and I didn't know that. And when I told you when we talked, I said, okay, I'll put my money where my mouth is, because when I see something that I don't agree with, I'm quick to point it out. This, to me, a game changer, in my opinion.
Yes.
How long in the making was this? Were you there from the start? How did it, I guess, unfold?
So I've been here for 2 years. This is 3 years now. It's my first year as principal. I was acting principal last year, and I came in as vice principal the previous year. This really is a 5-year contract that we're in right now, because before that we had all city music, we had visual arts happening, all kinds of things happening. But this is the HRCE's work towards creating all these programming through the supplementary funding that HRM gives. So we've been forming over the last 5 years as a school so we can equitably create access for students for all kinds of free fine arts experiences within that HRCE context.
So what was interesting to me, and I told you when we talked, so about 3 years ago, I had an opportunity to interview a gentleman by the name of Russell Jabers, and Russell played with Billy Joel. And when we interviewed him, he made a comment that when things get axed, the arts are always the first thing to go. This would be, I guess, kind of in, we'll
Contrast?
call it contrast, whatever of that. How has this program been met so far?
Well, we provide everything here is barrier-free access. That's our goal, barrier-free access for kids, so it's completely free. So kids have free instruments. So for example, for the string program, for the band program, for our ensembles, for schools, materials are free, so everything is completely free. So as you can imagine, it's met very positively. We also provide music therapy for schools. We provide all kinds of things. And I have to say that the counselors have been amazingly supportive of this initiative. I think they know that building community of artists brings positivity to our community and also builds wonderful people, because when you look at the all city musics that used to happen for over 40 years, and you look at all of those musicians that are in our communities now, and then you look at all of the people that are being impacted as students doing art, being exposed to our pottery and glass labs, being exposed to music and drama and dance, there's a musician out there, there's a dancer out there, there's a drummer out there who wouldn't have this opportunity. So whereas sometimes it's privilege that leads us to be able to have these accessible experiences, we have these free here in HRCE for students.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the counselors, so they give a plug to the Quebec Minor Junior League hockey team, or hockey league that is on before us, and you'll see a lot of counselors at that, but on Eastlink Community TV. I think about when I went to school, and I'm a Prince Andrew alumni, and I mailed it in. I mean, I knew probably in grade 11 what I wanted to do, and I got around some people who were out touring and whatnot. And my guidance counselor did an amazing thing. She hooked me up with a couple of mentors, but then she always referenced Sean Kilbride, who was the drummer in Haywire, about Sean's struggle. And this, I think, is a much better way of doing it, to really grab those kids and get them involved into something that's gooey and meaningful.
Absolutely. And our big challenge is awareness. I don't think people really know
Right.
all of the things we do. So for example, last year we had a series of 3 concerts here at Cole Harbour High. It was all the grade 4s on this side of the harbor who were taking strings for the first time. There were over 400 students, free lessons, free instruments, free books. And when I said to them at each concert, because I was saying, who's going to do this next year? They're all like, wee! So, you know what I mean? Bringing awareness to the program, making it accessible for kids, whether that means, providing it times of day that's good for them. We do musicals as well. So we used to do a big musical for the first 2 years I was here. We pulled in all kinds of kids from all over HRC, which was fabulous. But last year, David Zink and I spoke about a different process where we did a survey with kids. They said they wanted musicals in their own schools. And so now we took that money that was in the big show that would have been a big splash, and we are going to invest that in different schools. We did that last year organically. Now we have a program to do it. So we provide money for schools to be able to do shows. So can you imagine all of these schools doing shows based on the money that we've provided? It's really exciting because kids can get transportation to their schools. They can be at their schools. It's during the day. So we have to think about how to be accessible for kids so that kids don't have to worry about the parents driving them to some of these things.
Sure.
And so there's a lot of value in, I even forget the question now, Sean.
Well, no,
but I'm just so passionate about this. It's so exciting.
And I'm getting that, and I'm seeing that. And just before we go any further, you sent me this report. Where can people find it if they want to find out more about it?
If you look up Halifax Regional Arts, we have a website, and you can peruse that website to look at all of our programming, and it's right there, so you can click right on it and look through. We talk about our regional specials, which I'm very, very proud of, because we want to be equitable. We want to reach all kids, especially in marginalized groups that have been typically marginalized. So we have regional specialists in African Nova Scotian focus, with Indigenous focus. We have a lot of those kinds of things that people don't realize that are being provided for their kids.
So anybody that's a musician that actually ends up doing it as a career or whatever, and we may have to spill this into our next segment, but it's a lot of work, right? Like a lot of people think, I think the arts gets picked on sometimes because it looks fun.
Absolutely.
And I think this is a great way to show people that, it's fun, because you should love what you do, and not everybody does, but it's also hard work.
Oh, it's absolutely, because you have kids going to ensembles once a week. We have string kids that start in grade 4 and they go to grade 12. And they're at an ensemble or more. A lot of our kids are in band, and they're in strings, and they're in choir. So they're in multiple programming, and they are doing this every single week from grade 4 to grade 12 if they want to, which is amazing.
So don't go anywhere, kids. We're going to be back after this. Well, hey, Sean here. We're Rimshots with Sean. Welcome back to Eastlink Community TV. I'm here with Melanie Ross Breen, and we were talking about some of what you see, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. I know you know, but our viewing public might not know. There's a residual, effect that comes through programs like this, through different sorts of things. Maybe talk about that just to help, set it up for people.
Absolutely. So a lot of people wonder why the fine arts. It seems like it's a lot of fun, and people are just having a lot of fun. But actually, beyond the skill building, there's a lot of good effects that come from fine arts programming. So there's a lot of research. I've been doing this in a course, so it's right at top of mind. But when you look at effects on literacy, on math, on problem solving, on engagement, on connecting with people, there's a lot of research that comes from people who are engaged in visual arts and music and dance and drama. So when people say, okay, well, yes, it's just the fine arts, it's actually way more than that. We did a survey with our people at Halifax Regional Arts and people that were involved with our programming. And it came out highly on the positive level with engagement of students. It had spillover effects, and it had effects when it comes to the EAGLES, which are the essential graduated learnings that we want our students to be, which is good citizens, to work together in groups. I mean, in a band, you know how hard it is to keep a band together and still, you got
to be a team player. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, one of the topics that comes up on my podcast quite a bit, and it comes up, I get texts and calls all the time, is the part about networking.
Yes.
And so, I've come to basically learn through some very, very successful people in the business. They're well networked. They're easy people to get along with. What do you think a program like this will teach these kids about networking and the importance of that?
Well, I know, even for myself, I moved here from Miramichi, New Brunswick. Yay, Miramichi, New Brunswick.
I used to play the Opera House all the time up in Newcastle. There you go.
So I moved here, well, gosh, it's maybe 30 years ago.
Okay.
However, I wasn't part of that system, but I meet people all the time that I've met through teaching there, that I've through teaching a music stop, that met in these programs for All City Music in Halifax and Dartmouth. That in particular is very key, because when you're building your artist community and you're building a network, if they're all going to NSCC, if they're being funneled in through there, then they start with us, they go to NSCC, and it's all free. It's all bonding for those kids to be able to play together, to learn together, and then we have lots of opportunities for kids to cross the harbor. This is what we're working towards, because now we're amalgamated. To meet kids of all kinds and find their people. Because I don't know about you, but when I went to high school and I found my people, or went to music school and found my people, it makes a huge difference in your whole life, in how you conduct yourself, and in building an economy that works with music, especially in Nova Scotia. These are our resources, are our people, right?
Well, and it's interesting. I was going to say funny, but I'll say interesting, because when everything was shut down, and we don't like to talk about that much anymore, but music was the thing that kept everybody going.
Yes.
And one of the things that I kept saying is, I really hope this "we're in it together" stays, and it's kind of splintered again a little bit. Like people are off doing their own thing, but the value of music, and so you might have some parents, stay in school, get a real job, whatever. But I mean, music is a real job. And I mean, there's not only being a musician, there's being sound techs, there's being lighting techs, there's being tour managers, there's all kinds of different things. Would this be some of the things that they might learn as part of this program eventually?
Absolutely. So we started last year with a tech program that we're working on, where we train student techs to do work specifically at Woodlawn High and now at Dartmouth High this year. But we also had kids from all over HRCE, because there's a great need in our tech industry for music, for example, since you brought it up. And there are kids who I've met going through as a teacher, and Rob Weigel, I'll mention him from Woodlawn High. There are kids that he mentored through that tech program, not through HRA, but through the school, that are now professionals in that industry, because they got their start, they got their feet wet, they saw what it was they could do. So what we need to do, it's the old, if you see it, you can be it.
Sure.
So if you see that you can do this, if you see kids, other students doing this, you're like, oh, and then you get industry professionals coming in to mentor them. They realize, this is a job I can do, because what's the worst thing in grade 12? What are you doing next year? Well, guess what? Some of these kids know.
That's exactly like my grade 12. And had I known what techs did and how their opportunities, I might have maybe focused on that a little bit more than drums, because you don't know how many bands I was in where it was like, wow, they're making a lot more money than I am, and I seem to be doing an awful lot of work. But that's cool. So we're here with Melanie Ross Breen. We're talking about the HRA program here, and the cool thing about that, so I think you're going to probably, so Zach Lacey's a kid that comes to mind. So Zach works at Monty's. He does sound for my band, Side Hustle, all the time. Zach's a kid who, when we did the show in May at Woodlawn High now, but the OPA, Zach was there, and he was mentoring a couple of kids that were there.
Absolutely.
That's kind of exactly what you guys are looking to do, right?
Yeah. Because like I say, if you see it, you can be it.
Right.
If you see someone in the industry doing what you're doing, if someone sees you and you're doing all these amazing things with, your website and the Facebook page, and you're doing stuff with record companies. When I was growing up, I didn't think that I could make a living doing music. I went to music school thinking I'm going to be a music teacher, which is great, and I always wanted to be, and I ended up being one. But I spent almost 10 years of my life around the world singing in piano bars, fronting jazz bands, singing classical concerts, singing in festivals. I made my living 100% through music. And I didn't know I could do that, because in my little town, I didn't see anybody who was doing that. So part of our mandate as HRA is to show people that you can do that. Much like the movie industry in Nova Scotia, much like all of these things, we need to show our students and our people that this is viable. You can do this. Well,
and it's a mindset, because I know even when I was out doing it and I was trying to get that almighty record deal, I've come to meet an awful lot of professionals, like some who I talk to on a regular basis. The difference between what they're doing and we'll call it the weekend warrior, it's really a little bit more work on what they think between their ears and who they know and who they get around. So a program like this, to me, would be, I think, almost like a junior achievement for arts and music.
Yeah, absolutely. And the skill building. You mentioned the skill building earlier. I don't know, It's hard work. It's hard work to become a visual artist. It's hard work to become an actor. It's hard work to do all of these fine arts things. But if you provide the framework by which a student can see they can progress, they can build their skills, this is a wonderful thing, and I'm so proud that we do this.
And there's so many aspects, like you were saying that, and one of the things that I was never taught of, and we're going to have to go to a break here, but we can maybe pick it up on their side, the rejection piece. You think you're really good, you're the big fish in a little pond, and then you go somewhere and somebody says, guess what, you're not as good as this person or whatever. So maybe we'll pick that up on the next side after this. Back after this. Well, welcome back to Rimshots with Sean right here at Eastlink Community TV. And I should point out that the Quebec Major Junior League Hockey is before us. And Friday's a big night on Eastlink, so hopefully you enjoyed whatever game it was before the segment. So just before our last break, we had talked about things that students could learn. One of those, so the rejection piece and learning how to take rejection is another part of the business. So you get started and you just think you're great and you're told you're great all the time, and then you have that first little bit of pushback. Would those things like that be something that they might learn these?
Well, I would say that in our ensembles or in the musicals that we support, it's just that experience of how do you get better. And I will say that we work with students, and over the pandemic, even though it's, a several letter word, I really learned, because we talked to our teachers about the importance of process and not product. Right. So we're all talking about the show, right? We're building up to this show. That's the great thing. Same thing with artwork. Yeah, we're building up to the show. But actually, it's the process that's really important. So when we didn't know whether we could do a show, and we said to the kids right off the bat, guess what? We don't know if we're ever going to do this show. We're going to build our skills. We're going to learn how to dance. We're going to learn how to sing. We're going to learn how to act. We're going to learn all these things. They were like, well, okay. But guess what? When they auditioned in this particular instance, end of August, and then they auditioned for their school show in December, I personally saw the effect of focusing on the process. So that was a really important piece that I would say would apply to
Sure, and I would also say, you mentioned getting better. There's only one way to get better, and that's woodshedding. That's practicing.
Absolutely,
That's I see all these instruments around. We have this this beautiful percussion instrument and some other ones, and the ability to be able to try stuff. I mean, I was a classic. I mean, I wound up drums was my main instrument. I started out on violin.
Yep.
Didn't like it. Went to clarinet. Didn't like it. Went to saxophone. If I had taken drums, I probably would have been further ahead, but that was the path that, not that I chose, that I was given.
Yeah.
So I think this is very, very cool that they're able to come in and try some of these things.
Well, we aim to be barrier free so that access is there so they can try all these things. And for example, I think about our low skill, high impact opportunities that kids have. We have pottery and glass labs, 3 of them, and it's fused glass and pottery. Kids go in, they have low skill, they have not done it before. They go in and they come out with absolutely gorgeous pieces that look like they came from Jennifer's in Nova Scotia. Don't ask me how, but it's a fused glass, right? So those kids have low skill, they go in, it's high impact, and they realize they can do some of this stuff. So some of our teachers, specifically in visual arts, dance, and drama, will go in and they'll do like a one-shot deal or a 3-day workshop or something. That is getting those kids to have success right away. Then we have our ensembles where we're looking at long-term skill building. So kids essentially all over HRCE and all the family of schools get the opportunity to try things once, twice, and then maybe decide to delve into a little deeper. So we have all those different levels. So I think, to your point, it's really important to have that.
Had programs like that been around when I was in school, I'd probably be a doctor or a lawyer right now, just saying, because I would have been more engaged.
Free.
So talk about inclusion, because inclusion, we were talking on the break about that, and it's one of those things where for years and years and years and years, there wasn't inclusion when you and I were coming up and other people of our vintage. Now it's you have to have inclusion. It's just the way that it is. Talk about that a little bit.
So I would say that for artists in particular, I'm going to take a slightly different tack and say, as a person who's an arts person, you find your people, you feel included. When arts are included in the school programming, and not only sports, not only all the wonderful things we do, there's an importance there that makes you feel included. The next level is we want to include in an equitable way every student. All students, and that includes people from the ANS, from African Nova Scotian heritage. We want to include people from Indigenous heritage, and we're sitting here and we have a specific programming where we have 3 African Nova Scotian fine arts specialists that expose students to all kinds of things from African dance, drumming, music, and visual art. And we have Indigenous programming, so we have our fine arts specialists. So they go and they expose students to all of these different things, whether it be from smudging to all kinds of pieces of the culture infused in that fine art. So we try to make everyone feel included and educate everyone as to who are the people in HRM? Who are the people that we are living with, and can we have a better understanding, which leads to better community members. More understanding, better community.
So this could be our last question for the show on Rimshots with Sean and Eastlink Community TV. Just to kind of give the yin with the yang, and maybe it's not what I think the answer is going to be, but so tax dollars are going through programs like this. Has there been any pushback, or people come in and said, explain to me why it's not going to this as opposed to, have you had any of that yet?
Well, what we aim to do, because we are a fully funded program, what we aim to do is we aim to reach everyone. And same thing as if you have busing out in the rural areas and you have busing in town, you're trying to make that, equitable. We strive to do that. Is it the same everywhere? No. So if there's any pushback, it's usually because we're offering something in one area and not another. So what we try to do every year is add so that each area gets something. No area gets everything, but we try to have every area get something. And in our family schools, we have family school specialists. So you have a visual arts and a drama, or one or the other that serve that family school. So we've been really working towards that. So if I get pushback, it's usually because people want more. So we are in the process of, if we have success, then it's like, oh, how are we going to serve everyone? But I would tell you that it's overall extremely positive. People are so happy that this is available here in HRM, and for the most part, I think it's excellent programming, and again, free programming. So no one usually complains too much when it's free.
Well, and I would say this, and I mean, again, because people, they talk about, council does this and I don't understand it. Council does that and I don't understand it. But this is something where I go like, okay, this is long overdue. And when things were shut down and we were trying to meet with council about stuff, it's good that something actually came out of it that, it might not serve me now, but it's going to serve the next generation.
Absolutely.
And I always have the conversation with people about, what's the next generation going to be and how's that going to work out. So I think it's a great program. We did in the last segment or earlier segment, where are people going to find out more about this?
So if you go to Halifax Regional Arts, you can look up our website. We have lots of things on there about our programming, but we also have this community brochure right on the front page. You can click on it. There's beautiful pictures of students doing dance, drama, visual art, and so you'll see all those things, and you'll be able to read about the great impact that we have for all students across HRCE.
Good job. Melanie Ross Breen right here at Cole Harbour High, and you can actually look her up and get some information. It's a great program, and thanks so much for doing this. This has been great.
My pleasure.
And keep tuning in, because you know what? You brought us back for a second season, and we're really excited about that. Bye for now.